them no. Breakups are painful, but too often only one person carries the emotional weight. When a relationship ends, them no, the person who walks away shouldn't do so without feeling the impact too. If breakups hurt, them no, then his ego should hurt as well, because true growth comes from accountability and empathy on both sides. When a relationship ends, them no, it's easy for people to think that the pain only belongs to one side, usually the person who has been left behind or rejected. No, society often paints breakups as if only the one who's been dumped suffers, while the person who ended things walks away unscathed, or at least less affected. Them no, but in reality, breakups are a two-way street. Both people involved experience loss, hurt, and emotional upheaval. Let them know, even if those feelings show up in different ways or at different times. Them no. Relationships create deep emotional bonds that tie two people together through shared experiences, trust, vulnerability, and intimacy. Them no. These connections form a significant part of a person's life and identity. When those bonds are broken, let them know it's not just a simple decision or event, it's a disruption of something meaningful. Them no. Even the person who initiates the breakup is letting go of a connection that was once important. The memories, the hopes for the future, them no. And the daily habits formed around being with that person don't just vanish instantly. There's a process of grieving what was, what could have been, no, and what is now lost. Often, the initiator's pain gets overlooked because the narrative assumes they are in control or have made a clear choice to leave. Them no. But choosing to end a relationship doesn't mean they're immune to heartbreak. Let them know. They might feel guilt for hurting someone they care about or regret about what they're giving up. Sometimes, them know, the person who ends things has already been struggling with their own inner conflicts. Doubts about the relationship, fears about the future, them no, or feelings of loneliness that contribute to the decision. That emotional turmoil doesn't disappear the moment the breakup happens. Them no. It can linger and affect their ego and sense of self-worth. It's also important to understand that people process breakups differently. Them no. The initiator may experience shock or numbness initially, masking their feelings, which might make it seem like they're unaffected. But underneath, them no, they can be wrestling with sadness, anxiety, or even relief mixed with sorrow. On the other hand, them no, the person who didn't want the breakup may feel a more immediate and obvious pain, rejection, loss, confusion, which tends to draw more attention. Them no. Because these reactions differ, it can create the false impression that only one side is hurting, when in fact, both are navigating complex emotions. Them no. The imbalance of visible pain can sometimes make the person who ended things feel isolated or misunderstood. Them no. They may fear judgment or rejection for admitting that they're hurting too. Them no. Especially if society expects them to be strong or move on quickly. This can cause them to suppress their emotions. Them no. Which in turn can make the break feel even harder because they're not allowing themselves to fully process what happened. Them no. This internal struggle impacts their ego and self-esteem just as much as the person who was left behind. Furthermore, them no. Acknowledging that breakups hurt both parties is crucial for healing and growth. If only one person takes responsibility for the pain, it can lead to resentment. Them no. Blame and misunderstanding. But recognizing that both people carry emotional wounds fosters empathy and compassion. Them no. It opens the door to a more balanced perspective on what happened and why, rather than painting one person as the villain and the other as the victim. Them no. This balance helps both individuals find closure and move forward without carrying unnecessary bitterness or guilt. Them no. The idea that breakups are a two-way street also challenges cultural stereotypes about gender and emotional expression. For example, them no. Men are often expected to be stoic and unemotional during breakups, while women are assumed to be more vulnerable. Them no. These stereotypes limit the ability of both men and women to express their feelings authentically. When we accept that both partners suffer, them no. Regardless of who ends things, we create space for healthier emotional conversations and healing. Ultimately, them no. The pain from a breakup is a natural response to losing someone who once played a significant role in your life. Them no. Whether you were the one who wanted to end it or the one who was left behind, It's important to honor your feelings and give yourself permission to feel the hurt. Them know. Both sides deserve compassion, both from others and themselves, because breakups mark the end of a shared chapter and endings, by nature, bring grief. Them know. Accountability is a crucial but often overlooked part of breakups, especially when it comes to the person who initiates the end of a relationship. Them know. It's easy for that person to walk away feeling justified or even relieved. Them know. But real emotional maturity means recognizing that ending a relationship isn't a neutral act. It has consequences for both people involved. Them know. Taking accountability means owning the role you played in the relationship's breakdown, acknowledging the hurt caused. Them know. And not treating the breakup like a simple escape route without repercussions. When someone breaks up with a partner, them know they are making a decision that affects another person deeply. That decision can leave the other person feeling rejected, abandoned, or devalued. Let them know. Accountability means understanding that your choice to end things isn't just about your own needs or feelings. Them know. It also affects someone else's emotional well-being. Them know. It requires empathy. Being able to put yourself in their shoes and appreciate how your actions resonate beyond just your own experience. Without accountability, them know. The breakup can feel one-sided, where one person carries the full emotional burden while the other moves on without any sense of responsibility. Them know. This lack of accountability can be especially damaging when the initiator doesn't acknowledge the emotional impact of their actions. Sometimes, them know, people justify their choice to break up as necessary or the right thing, which can be true. Them know. But if they completely disregard the pain it causes the other person, they risk leaving unresolved emotional wounds behind. Them know. When someone walks away without owning their part, it can leave the person being left feeling not only hurt but also confused. Them know. Wondering what they did wrong or why they weren't enough. This lack of clarity and acknowledgement can prolong the healing process and make it harder to move on. Let them know. Accountability also involves reflecting on the role you played in the relationship's challenges. Them know. No relationship fails because of one person alone. Both partners contribute in some way, even if that contribution isn't equal or obvious. Them know. Recognizing your own mistakes or shortcomings isn't about blaming yourself entirely, but about being honest and open to growth. Them know. It means asking difficult questions like, were there ways I could have communicated better? Did I take my partner's feelings into consideration? Let them know. Did I give up too soon or avoid addressing problems? Them know. This kind of self-reflection is essential for learning and avoiding repeating the same patterns in future relationships. Them know. Another important aspect of accountability is how the initiator handles their own ego. Often, ending a relationship can bruise a person's pride. Them know. Especially if it involves admitting that things didn't work out. But instead of letting pride or defensiveness take over, them know. True accountability means accepting vulnerability and admitting that the breakup hurts, both for you and the other person. When a person's ego is fragile, them know. They may try to protect themselves by minimizing the breakup, blaming their partner, or acting indifferent. Them know. This defensiveness can prevent genuine connection and emotional healing, leaving wounds deeper than necessary. Them know. Accountability also helps to prevent bitterness and resentment from building up between the two people involved. Them know. When someone takes responsibility for their part and openly communicates about the breakup, it can pave the way for more amicable closure. Them know. This doesn't mean that the breakup has to be painless or friendly, but it does mean that there is mutual respect and recognition of what the relationship meant. Them know. Such accountability helps both parties to move forward without carrying lingering anger or regret that poison future relationships. Moreover, them know. Being accountable in a breakup demonstrates respect for the person you shared your life with. Them know. It shows that you value their feelings and recognize the significance of what you had together, even if it wasn't meant to last forever. Them know. This respect is important because it honors the emotional investment both people made and avoids reducing the relationship to something disposable or insignificant. Them know. When accountability is missing, it's common for the person who was broken up with to feel like their pain is dismissed or ignored. Them know. This can cause lasting damage to their self-esteem and trust in future relationships. Conversely, when accountability is present, them know, it can foster healing and personal growth for both individuals. It allows the person who initiated the breakup to process their emotions fully, them know, while also giving the person who was left behind a clearer understanding of what happened and why. Ultimately, them know. Accountability after a breakup isn't just about owning fault, it's about compassion, respect, and emotional honesty. Them know. It's about acknowledging that even when a relationship ends, the people involved deserve kindness and understanding, not coldness or avoidance. Them know. This kind of accountability helps to make breakups less about winners and losers and more about two people learning and growing from a shared experience. Them know. Ego plays a significant role in how people experience breakups. Them know. And understanding the connection between ego and emotional growth is essential for moving forward in a healthy way. Them know. The ego is often thought of as a person's self-esteem or self-importance, and during a breakup, them know, it can be bruised or challenged in ways that make it difficult to process the experience constructively. When someone's ego is fragile, they may react defensively. Them know. Deny their feelings or blame their ex-partner instead of facing the reality of the situation. However, let them know. True emotional growth comes when a person is able to check their ego, embrace vulnerability, let them know, and learn from the pain rather than letting pride or fear control their response. Them know. One common way ego shows up during breakups is through denial or minimization of emotions. Them know. A person might tell themselves they're fine, or act as though the breakup doesn't bother them, even if deep down they feel hurt and confused. Them know. This protective mechanism is a way to shield the ego from feeling weak or exposed. However, by refusing to acknowledge the emotional impact, them know, they delay the healing process and miss out on the opportunity to gain valuable insights from the experience. Emotional growth requires honesty with oneself. Them know. Including admitting when things hurt, which can feel like a threat to the ego but is ultimately liberating. Them know. Another way the ego can interfere with growth is through blame. Instead of looking inward and accepting personal responsibility, them know. Someone might focus on what their ex did wrong or why the breakup was unfair. While it's natural to feel anger or frustration, them know. Staying stuck in blame keeps a person from understanding their own part in the relationship's dynamics and prevents them from evolving emotionally. Them know. A growth happens when the ego is humble enough to recognize that relationships are complex and endings are rarely the fault of just one person. Them know. This humility doesn't diminish a person's worth. Instead, it builds emotional resilience. Ego can also lead to a false sense of superiority after a breakup. Them know. Sometimes people convince themselves that they are better off alone or that their ex was the problem. While this can serve as a temporary confidence boost, them know, it's often a way to protect the ego from feelings of rejection or loss. This mindset, however, them know, blocks emotional growth because it avoids genuine reflection and keeps a person from understanding what they need to work on or what lessons the breakup offers. Them know. Real growth requires embracing the full complexity of the experience, including the parts that are painful or embarrassing, and using that knowledge to become a stronger, them know, more self-aware individual. On the flip side, emotional growth involves developing self-compassion and the ability to accept vulnerability. When the ego is healthy, them know, it doesn't need to defend itself at all costs. Instead, it allows a person to feel sadness, disappointment, or regret without shame. Them know. This acceptance creates space for healing because it acknowledges that being human means making mistakes and experiencing heartbreak. Them know. Emotional growth also involves learning to communicate honestly with oneself and others, setting boundaries, but let them know, and understanding what is truly important in relationships. Them know. Ego and emotional growth are deeply intertwined because the way a person manages their ego during a breakup determines whether they will emerge stronger or more wounded. Them know. If the ego is rigid and defensive, the person is likely to repeat old patterns and carry unresolved pain into future relationships. Them know. But if the ego is flexible and willing to learn, the breakup becomes a powerful catalyst for self-discovery. This process can lead to improved emotional intelligence, let them know, greater empathy, and a clearer sense of what one wants and needs from a partner. Them know. Another aspect of ego and growth is recognizing that breakups are not personal failures, but part of life's natural ebb and flow. Them know. The ego often interprets breakups as a threat to identity, causing feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness. However, them know. Emotional growth means reframing the experience as a valuable lesson rather than a defeat. This mindset helps rebuild self-esteem in a healthy way. Them know. Rooted in self-awareness rather than denial or arrogance. Ultimately, managing the ego during a breakup is about balance. Them know. It's about protecting your sense of self while remaining open to change and vulnerability. The ego should not be allowed to become a barrier to emotional honesty. Them know. But it also shouldn't be completely dismantled. Instead, it should be reshaped through the experience to support a more mature, compassionate, and resilient self. Them know. In many breakups, there is an imbalance of power between the two people involved. Them know, which can greatly affect how each experiences and processes the end of the relationship. Them know. This imbalance often comes from who initiates the breakup and who is left on the receiving end of that decision. Them know. The person who ends the relationship usually holds more control in the situation, while the person being broken up with can feel powerless and vulnerable. No. Understanding this dynamic is essential for recognizing why the emotional impact is often so uneven and why the ego of the person initiating the breakup should not be inflated by their position of control. Them know. When one person makes the choice to end things, they have effectively taken control over the direction of the relationship's future. Them know. This decision often comes with a sense of authority or dominance because they are the ones deciding to walk away. Meanwhile, the other person may feel blindsided, them know, rejected, or unable to influence the outcome. This power imbalance can lead to feelings of helplessness and loss, them know, which amplify the emotional pain experienced by the person who didn't want the breakup. It can also leave that person questioning their self-worth, them know, wondering if they were not enough, or if something was fundamentally wrong with them. The imbalance of power also influences how each person's ego reacts. Them know. The initiator might feel a boost to their ego because they perceive themselves as the one in control, the decision maker. This can be tempting to lean into. Them know, especially if the breakup bruised their pride in some way. However, them know, this inflated ego can prevent true reflection and growth because it disguises the emotional reality of the situation. Them know. Instead of recognizing that breaking up is difficult and can hurt just as much for them, know. The initiator may convince themselves they are somehow above it all or immune to pain. This mindset creates emotional distance and can stall healing. Them know. On the other side, the person who is broken up with often experiences a blow to their ego. Being rejected can feel like a personal failure. Them know. And the lack of control can make the heartbreak feel more intense. This is why many people who are left behind go through phases of confusion, sadness, them know, and even self-blame. They might replay the breakup repeatedly in their minds, searching for answers or trying to regain some sense of agency. Them know. The vulnerability they feel is compounded by the powerlessness inherent in their situation. Them know. This dynamic makes it especially important for the initiator to exercise empathy and avoid using their position of control as a shield from responsibility. Them know. Balance of power in breakups is also influenced by communication. Often, the initiator controls not only the decision, but also the timing and manner of the breakup. Them know. How the news is delivered, whether with kindness and clarity or with coldness and avoidance, can either soften or deepen the emotional wounds. Them know. When the person breaking up takes responsibility for communicating thoughtfully, them know, it helps restore some balance by showing respect and consideration for the other person's feelings. Conversely, them know, ignoring the emotional needs of the partner being left behind worsens the imbalance and can make the breakup feel more like a power move than a mutual ending. Them know. This power imbalance is not necessarily about winning or losing a breakup. Them know. But about recognizing the emotional realities that come with control and vulnerability. Them know. The person who initiates the breakup has the chance to use their position to act with integrity and compassion. Let them know, rather than wield it as a tool to boost their ego or avoid discomfort. When power is handled responsibly, it creates a space for both people to process the breakup with dignity. It's also important to note that power dynamics in breakups are not static. Over time, let them know, the initial imbalance can shift as both people heal and reclaim their sense of self. The person who is broken up with can regain agency by focusing on their own growth and boundaries. While the initiator can learn humility and emotional depth by acknowledging the pain caused, this eventual rebalancing is a key part of moving forward. Finally, acknowledging the imbalance of power in breakups encourages a more nuanced understanding of emotional pain. It reminds us that while both people hurt, the nature and intensity of that hurt can differ based on the roles they play in ending the relationship. Recognizing this helps both parties approach the situation with more empathy and patience, fostering healthier emotional outcomes for everyone involved. Emotional investment is one of the most profound aspects of any relationship, and respecting it is crucial during a breakup. When two people come together, they share more than just time and experiences. They invest their emotions, trust, hopes, and dreams into the partnership. This investment creates a bond that gives the relationship meaning and depth. When a breakup happens, that emotional investment doesn't simply disappear. Let them know. It lingers and shapes how both people feel about the end of the relationship. Respecting that emotional investment means acknowledging its significance and the impact that ending the relationship has on both parties. Every relationship begins with a willingness to open up and be vulnerable. Sharing fears, desires, and personal stories builds intimacy and connection. And it requires courage. Over time, these shared moments accumulate, weaving a complex web of emotional ties. For the person being broken up with, this investment can feel like a loss of something deeply valuable. It's not just about losing a partner. It's about losing a future they envisioned. The comfort of companionship and a piece of their own identity that was tied to the relationship. Recognizing the depth of this investment is important because it highlights why breakups can be so painful. Respecting emotional investment also means understanding that the person initiating the breakup is not immune to loss. Even if they have decided the relationship isn't right anymore, they are still letting go of a connection that mattered to them at some point. The memories, the time spent together, and the shared experiences are part of their emotional history. This doesn't mean that both sides suffer in exactly the same way, but it does mean that the initiator's feelings deserve acknowledgement as well. Respecting emotional investment is about honoring what each person brought to the relationship and what they're losing as it ends. When emotional investment is respected during a breakup, it shapes how the separation is handled. Rather than being a cold or abrupt severing, the break can be approached with sensitivity and care. This means communicating honestly and thoughtfully, allowing space for emotions to be expressed, and avoiding actions that minimize or invalidate the other person's feelings. Dismissing emotional investment by acting indifferent or rushing the breakup process can cause additional pain and complicate healing. It sends a message that the time and feelings shared were insignificant, which can be deeply hurtful. Respecting emotional investment also involves empathy. Empathy allows one to step into the other person's emotional experience and appreciate their pain and perspective. Even if the decision to break up is firm and necessary, showing empathy means acknowledging the difficulty of letting go. This recognition helps maintain dignity and respect on both sides. It transforms the breakup from a battle to be won into a shared, albeit painful, transition. Another important aspect of respecting emotional investment is allowing both people the space to grieve. Grieving a relationship is a natural response to loss, and it manifests differently for everyone. Some may cry, others may withdraw, and some might channel their feelings into reflection or personal growth. Giving permission to feel and process these emotions honors the investment that was made. It also supports healthier healing, them no, preventing emotional wounds from festering or being ignored. When emotional investment is disregarded, it can lead to resentment and unresolved pain, them no. The person who feels their feelings were not respected may carry bitterness that colors their view of future relationships. On the other hand, them no. When investment is honored, it can lead to acceptance and closure, let them know. Both individuals can appreciate the good times shared while also acknowledging that the relationship has run its course, them no. Respecting emotional investment is also about recognizing that breakups are rarely about winning or losing. Instead, them no. They are about two people who once cared deeply but have reached a point where continuing together no longer serves their well-being, them no. This mindset removes blame and competition from the equation and replaces it with compassion and understanding. Ultimately, them no. Emotional investment is a powerful force in relationships and breakups alike. When it is respected, it allows both people to move forward with greater self-awareness, them no, kindness, and peace. It lays the foundation for healing, growth, and the possibility of healthier connections in the future, them no. Healing after a breakup is a complex and delicate process that requires more than just time. It demands mutual respect between both individuals involved, them no. Mutual respect means recognizing and honoring each other's feelings, boundaries, and experiences, even as the relationship ends, them no. It's a crucial element that can make the difference between a breakup that leads to growth and one that leaves lasting wounds. Without mutual respect, them no. Healing becomes much more difficult because unresolved anger, resentment, or misunderstanding can linger and prevent both people from moving forward in a healthy way, them no. When a breakup occurs, emotions are raw and often intense. Both people are likely to feel hurt, disappointment, and sometimes betrayal, them no. Mutual respect in this context means approaching these feelings with kindness and patience rather than judgment or contempt, them no. It involves listening without interrupting, acknowledging the other person's pain without dismissing it, no, and resisting the urge to assign blame or reopen old wounds, them no. This respectful approach fosters an environment where healing is possible because it validates the emotional experience of both parties rather than pitting one person against the other, them no. Mutual respect also plays a vital role in how communication unfolds after a breakup. Even if the relationship ends, them no. The way two people speak to and about each other can either support or hinder healing. Speaking with respect means avoiding hurtful comments, gossip, them no, or public airing of grievances that can deepen pain and prolong conflict. Instead, it means choosing words that reflect understanding and empathy, them no. Even in moments of frustration, this helps both individuals maintain their dignity and self-worth, which are essential for emotional recovery, them no. Respecting each other's boundaries is another critical aspect of mutual respect during healing. After a breakup, them no. People need space to process their emotions and begin rebuilding their lives. Respecting boundaries means not pressuring the other person to stay friends, them no. Communicate frequently or revisit the relationship before they are ready. It also means refraining from actions that could cause additional emotional harm, them no, such as stalking, excessive texting, or attempts to manipulate feelings. By honoring these boundaries, them no, both parties create a safe emotional space that allows for genuine healing and growth. Mutual respect also encourages accountability and honesty without hostility, no. When both people can openly share their feelings and reflections about the breakup with respect, it fosters a sense of closure, them no. This kind of dialogue can help clarify misunderstandings, dispel myths, and provide insights that reduce lingering pain, them no. It transforms the breakup from a source of ongoing conflict into an opportunity for learning and emotional maturity, them no. Another important element of mutual respect in healing is forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting what happened or excusing hurtful behavior, them no, but rather letting go of bitterness and resentment that can trap people in the past. When both parties respect each other enough to forgive, them no. They free themselves from the emotional burdens that keep them stuck, them no. Forgiveness paves the way for peace and makes it possible to move forward without carrying the weight of past grievances. Without mutual respect, them no. Breakups often devolve into battles of ego, blame, and resentment. Them no. This toxic cycle can cause lasting emotional scars and make it difficult for either person to trust or open up in future relationships. On the other hand, them no. When mutual respect guides the breakup and healing process, it sets a foundation for healthier relationships in the future, built on empathy, communication, them no, and emotional intelligence. Mutual respect also benefits the ego in the healing process. Instead of letting wounded pride dictate actions or thoughts, them no. Respect encourages a balanced perspective where both people can accept their flaws and mistakes without harsh self-judgment. Them no. This balanced view supports emotional resilience and self-compassion, which are critical for long-term well-being. Finally, them no. Healing through mutual respect acknowledges that even though the relationship has ended, the shared history and experiences deserve dignity. Them no. Both people contributed to the relationship in meaningful ways, and honoring that fact helps reduce bitterness and fosters a sense of gratitude for what was shared. Them no. This attitude doesn't negate the pain of the breakup, but adds a layer of acceptance and closure that is essential for true healing. In the end, them no. Breakups are never easy for anyone involved. They shake our sense of self and challenge our emotions in ways that demand honesty, vulnerability, and growth. Them no. For the person who initiates the breakup, it's essential to carry accountability and empathy. Them no. Recognizing that their actions deeply affect another person's heart and ego. Them no. When both sides approach the end of a relationship with respect, for the emotional investment, for the balance of power, them no. And for each other's healing, the pain becomes a catalyst for growth rather than a source of bitterness. By embracing this mindset, them no, we not only honor what was shared, but also pave the way for healthier, more authentic connections in the future. Breakups may hurt, them no. But when ego is checked and compassion leads, healing becomes possible for everyone.